This is bad.
The probability of us achieving victory here today is only 3%. That's with me rounding up.
You hear that? Those are runaway numbers.
If we run, there'll be no one left to protect the city. Stand and fight or die. You make the choice.
Welcome, everybody, to... Is that my internet or his? I think it's his internet. I believe so. I think he's frozen. Wait, yeah, he's frozen. Hello, everybody. Welcome to my show. This is my show tonight. This will be my channel. I'm yours truly, Alazmat, and I'm here to host our good friend Plungecast, who is having router problems right now. And I was assured earlier that there will be no racism in the chat. So you guys in the chat, I already see the troublemakers. I already see you guys in the chat doing all kinds of trouble. Also, if you're watching on Facebook, shout out to you on Facebook. Hail, not Facebook. Hail to you watching on Facebook. Or as some of my relatives would say, cara de libro, or libro de cara. That's all gibberish for the rest of you. I get it. It's all gibberish, but I'm here for it. I'm absolutely here for it. Yes, I am now totally the lone host of the show. So watch the viewership go down now that I'm hosting the show. I see what you did there, Colin. I see what you did there. And you know what? I am not going to allow that kind of terrorism. And Plungecast says that his PC just crashed. Uh-oh. Okay, so I will be entertaining y'all for a little bit as Plungecast regains control of the stream. But don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. And yeah, this is going to be one of the most uniquest live streams ever that I've done, because I am a guest, but not anymore. Now I'm the host. Yes, it was quite the transition. What a day today was. Let me tell you what a day today was. Oh no, is that Brown CBR? Brown CBR, you need to be nice. You need to be nice, okay? Because I'm a guest now. I'm on someone's channel and I'm a guest on Plungecast panel. So for fuck's sake, do not hack Plungecast router, okay? Okay? Just don't. Plungecast has a show to run. He doesn't need your hacking routers tonight. Take a break from hacking routers tonight, CBR. For one night, you can do that. And we're here to save comics and the community, because it is shattered in shambles, and like the sands in the hourglass, it blows away when you whisper into it. That makes no sense. But I am the keeper of the keeps and the whisperer of the whispers, as I dream the dream for you guys, so you can see and read your pretty pictures in your little books there we call comics. But on this note, today's the great day. For those of you who don't know, today is the day. Wait, Brown says, whatever. I do what I want. No, leave Plungecast router alone. Give him mercy. Just for tonight, give him mercy. Please. For Allah's sake, give him mercy. Just for one night. Please, just do that. Plungecast is asking me to keep the show running. I mean, that's all I can do at this point. Aside from turning my camera on and... Oh, wait a minute. That's right. I can turn my camera on and actually shill. Oh wait, it says my USB camera is not on. Well, that sucks. That means I gotta use the HP camera. I don't know if I want it. Well, fuck it. I guess I suppose. Let me make sure that my audio is at least. Yeah, the mic at least is the right mic. So I'll just use this camera. And guys, those of you that are watching, I am not really hijacking Plungecast's channel. It's just that his router was hacked by CBR. So now Plungecast has an international crisis. So while he's taking care of that, for those that didn't see, I did get my floppy of Pumpkin War Patch printed last week. This was advertised as the Ash can from the Beast Citizen Road Warrior Drake campaign. Oh crap, he's back. Oh wait.
No, you're good. You're gonna have to stay alive now. You're gonna show your face now from now on.
Well,
you can't hide behind the image. I caught you.
Yes,
dude. Seriously, that was crazy. I realized what happened. So along with like changing over to my new ISP, which caused me a headache this week, and switching over to power to go local, my power just went out and came back on.
Wow, seriously, look at that. Man. It was like I had brought some kind of juju. I don't know what. And it's not in the form of a cow either.
Yeah, I mean, like, that was crazy. My whole computer went down. Like, it flicked on, like, the whole system flicked on and came back on. And my computer restarted itself.
Well, what's
And
crazy is that my USB camera is not turning on, so I have to use the HP camera, and I don't want to. I like the angle of the camera.
welcome everybody, and hopefully thank you, Alazmat, for keeping the show running, man. That was crazy. It wasn't a hack. It wasn't anything like that. It's just to do with like switching over to a local New Zealand provider, like for my power and for my
Don't
Wi-Fi.
fear CBR. He can't hurt you. It's okay.
Yeah. Oh no, everybody's going to go. He got hacked like Liam. He's going to do a Liam thing from now on, right? Because he's in New Zealand, he's the bottom of the world, so he's going to be just like Liam, making up stories and everything.
He's
But
everywhere.
welcome everybody. Thank you, man. I really appreciate it for you to come on. Hopefully everybody got the intro. But as I'm as I'm on screen now, welcome everybody to Plunge Comics. This is the Plunge Comics channel, not the Plunge Cast channel. But I am Aru Singh down here in New Zealand, your weirdo from down under, as they say. I'm going to put Alazmat back on again, Alberto, and let him do his bio, and we'll cut this, we'll put that other bit in the bloopers. So
Nobody wants to hear my bio. By the way, shout out to all the Kiwis watching. Hail to my fellow community over in New Zealand. Shout out to you guys. You guys are the mecca of entertainment. Appreciate you out there. One day, hope to visit. But who wants to hear bio of me? You can just check out my IMDb page, where you can see this little pop from New York who has invaded further parts of the country, and I have created the character Road Warrior Drake. The first book in the series, Street Champion Road Warrior Drake, which is a graphic novel, not a floppy, but a graphic novel, full story from beginning to end, 110 pages. It came out in both a trade paperback, hardcover, and a manga version, which I think I have the manga version over here. But anyway, I had this and a couple other books that came with that campaign. And then in the last couple of years, I was working on the second book in the series, Beast Citizen Road Warrior Drake, a whole 149 pages of pure fun and entertainment. And that book is in the print shop right now. I should be getting it this week. I am excited for it. Well, I have to send them the cover because they can print the cover and then put that with the rest of the book. And then I got a full proof copy that I can check out. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, that book is 149 pages. The sequel to this book, both of them are complete stories, not fragmented stories, not parts of a story, but they are their own entire story that connects together for a more overarching epic saga. And yes, it is a trilogy, so there'll be a third book down the road. But in the meantime, as I do these graphic novels, I'm also doing floppies. Not just of Road Warrior Drake. I will be doing Road Warrior Drake floppies in the next few months. I'm also doing floppies of his one of his friends, Pumpkin War Patch. This is issue 1, which I advertised as a floppy, but I said, no, fuck it. It's going to be a series. So Pumpkin War Patch, volume issue number 1. It's floppy, so excited about that. I will also be doing a Road Warrior Drake floppy as well, and a Road Warrior Drake coloring books. I did one already, so I'll be working on a second Road Warrior Drake coloring book for the kids. So that is the plan for the entire franchise that is known as Road Warrior Drake. Yes, I did it. I did it against the odds, against pushback, against lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of skepticism. But I got it done. And with each book, you get more quality, more attention to story and fun and entertainment. So now, if that's not a pitch, I don't know. But I think I've worked. I think I did pretty good. But I cannot wait to get Beast Citizen Road Warrior. I hate I like my other camera, and it could be at an angle, so I'll do it this way. I can't wait to get Beast Citizen Road Warrior Drake in my hands so I can show you guys, and you can see the immense fun and entertainment that's coming your way. So I'm looking forward to it, and I know you guys are too. And it's gonna be a great year, not just in advertising the book and distributing it, but also going out to cons and events and meeting people and trying to get the word of Street Champion that's the first book, Road Warrior Drake, because there's many books tied to the name out there, and that is my plan. And I can't see the peripheral vision of how I look on the stream, but I'm guessing it's better than this. It looks better this way, so that I get that aesthetic of professionalism, I think.
Hail to Lady Shadowbanned. And for
That's
those who don't know, Alazmat has a channel called Alazmat the Shadowbanned. And I'm just going to put up this his IMDb page. So you can see here, hopefully it's on screen. There you go. And also thank you to a Brown CBR. I don't know what CBR means. Comic book reader? Maybe comic book reader? who says, "I don't hack my fellow Indians, especially my Sikh brethren." I don't think I'm Sikh. That's the weird thing. I don't know. I think I'm a mixture of North and South Indian, but I don't think I'm Sikh. But we'll see.
For your safety, just say yes.
Yeah, I'm an Indian from Fiji.
There you go.
A little island in the South Pacific. For those who unaware. So let me just grab this one here. There we go. That's much better. Okay, so what I want to do here is have a look at your IMDb page, all right? Because you are a filmmaker, you run a chat, and a channel, but you also do documentaries, which is what we're going to talk partly about. We're not going to 50-50 kind of thing, but you have done short films. Do you want to talk about a bit of the short films you've done, and also some movies and stuff?
Yeah, I've done a couple of short films, but I also done actual feature films. Actually, the list that you were looking at before, those are 4 of my feature films. I've done horror, I've done sci-fi, I've done martial arts, I've done drama. So I've done quite a few genres of movies. I've shot on digital cameras as well as actual film negatives. Yes.
Right. Yeah, I did. I went to film school, so that's why I was kind of, did 3 years there. I'd done digital, but not film. So it's pretty cool, man. Like films, like hardcore, legit kind of thing. You're like, yes, chopping it up and everything and all that.
Yeah,
now,
back in the
on
day,
the films.
Back in the day, that was like a flex. You shoot and trust me, like the digital has made everything so much more convenient and easier for a filmmaker, and trust me, I wouldn't trade that. But back in like when I was doing it, it was kind of like a rite of passage. You get the Aeroflex 16 with the magazine. You go into a dark room, because when you load up the film negative, you're not seeing a thing. It's all pitch black. So you're really relying on the physical familiarity of the magazine, of the camera, and being able to load the film, getting it synced in with the gadgets, and then closing the magazine cover to make sure that it runs. So to say it was a nightmare is an understatement, especially when you're shooting these dailies and you don't know what it looks like until you get it back from the shop, and that could be like a week or so later.
Yeah, that's something that, like, when I was doing digital, it'd be like, okay, let's go straight into plug your camera up into your Mac, and it's there. Transfer it over. It takes whatever time it does, and then you've got like gigs and gigs of footage, and it doesn't matter because you're not wasting money. Like this, it's just gigs of footage. It's on your tape, and you transfer it, and you're on your tape, you transfer it, and it's like, it's not that costly compared to film, right? Film's like freaking hundreds of thousands of dollars just on the freaking cartridges. So how did you get into the actual, filmmaking side of things?
I've always loved movies, and I love storytelling.
Right.
I remember back in 2000, after I had won a civil suit, I had money to use. So I bought film equipment. I bought my film camera, bought my editing equipment, and then paid my way into film school for 1 month. It was a summer program. And then with that, I just started making movies. And I liked that I was making the movies. I like having that control. But I will say, like, the experience at the time was a little bit how can I put it? It put me in a dark place, I guess, because I was kind of miserable at that time.
Right.
But I love just being able to make movies, though.
Yeah. Was it visual storytelling? Because I just transferred, just like me, right? I went to digital filmmaking, spent 3 years. I actually, before I even got to film school, I was doing stage plays, skits for about 6 years, 5 to 6 years before I actually decided to go, hey, maybe I'll do a career change and go to film school, learn digital filmmaking and so on. And, that sort of thing. Was it for you? Did you start doing drama and stuff at school and do storytelling or writing at school and then transfer onwards? Or did you just go, I'm going to do filmmaking?
So I started drawing, right? I didn't take it seriously back when I was a kid, but I just like telling stories. Yeah. So to me, it was just simple to just grab a pen and draw on that loose leaf paper in your binder. So I used to tell stories that way. And then in the 90s, my mom had a very heavy, those heavy video cameras that they were made just so you can shoot events, not to make movies. Well, I used it to make movies, and I gave it new life. I shot quite a few movies during that time. And And when I
So
met
it
my friend,
this was a digital camera, right?
no, so this was a VHS camera.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Yes, so back in the days, like
yeah,
we had those VHS recorders that people only used to record events, but I used it to make movies. And
yeah,
I met my friends in high school, and we actually made some like cool martial art movies, and we started doing some horror movies. And then in
right,
2002, I got my film camera, and I started doing actual films on film. So
right. So I remember like I had a guy who was from Fiji and he used to do like video editing. And so did you have a camera that would and I played around with it all the time when he went to sleep, right? I'll be on there cutting together, splicing together movies like Child's Play to music, right? So there's a song by Anthrax called Keep It in the Family. And so there's a part, I think it's Child's Play 1 where they're rushing towards the door or something like that. To a house, and I'm like, I do set it to music by cutting in camera editing. Did you have that process in that camera as well? Like you could, or did you like cut up? How did you do your editing? That's what I'm trying to get at with your VHS.
So when it came to the film camera, you would go to a room and you physically would cut the film up. So like if
Yeah,
you know where the scene started, where it ended, you would cut it up, and then you'd have some special film glue where you would splice it
yeah,
together. So I did it that way when I came with the film. I know some people like there's techniques where you could actually you could shoot something, block off part of the film so it doesn't get
yeah,
exposed, and then you go back and shoot the other image, and then that's one way they would do like composite shots. But I didn't do
right.
anything fancy like that. It was just I would shoot, and then during the editing process, just cut up the film and splice it together.
That's pretty cool, man. What was the experience like? I mean, like doing that, coming from that and then going to let me step back a bit. So how many years did you spend filmmaking, like for on digital, like first on film itself and then onto digital, or did you
So
stick
I
to film?
started right. So I started shooting in 2002. My first
Right.
legit film, Solomon's Requiem. Although before that, like I do want to say, like there was a movie I made called Phantasma. I didn't list it on IMDb. It was shot on VHS, but it was my ode to the classic silent films of the 20s. And it's a film that I still like. Actually, I went back and I digitized it. I added some new stuff on it and played around with it, and it looks really good now. So like at some point, maybe I'll upload it and show people. But I always go with that film, Phantasma, because it was really the first movie where I really took the narrative tool seriously, where I was telling a story using some serious visuals
Right.
and playing around with original music. In 2002, that's when I directed Solomon's Requiem, and
Right.
it was a 2-year shoot, and it was different from video, of course, because again, you don't get the benefit of looking at the scenes you shot and then
Yeah.
just saying to yourself, "Well, maybe I should shoot it again."
Mm.
So there was many times where I would shoot, I get the dailies back a week later, and like, oh, I gotta shoot that again because it didn't
Yeah.
come out that good. It wasn't often, but it did happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was a serious next level when you go from VHS to film negative. It is
Yeah.
it is next level. I'm telling you right now. Like the experience just changes, your sentiment changes, your approach to making it changes, because now you're dealing with not just the machines that you're using that remove any type of convenience. Now you got like actual crew members. You deal with a larger cast. There were days when I had most of my shots were with my special effects team.
Right.
So I was, really, really acquiescing to like what people's thoughts were when we were doing a scene. So it was a collaborative effort, and that was one of the good things about filmmaking. But that was one of the big transition of going from VHS to film.
Right.
And it really made filmmaking more of a job than a hobby.
Now, the other thing would be like the cost of it, right? Because film, like you're paying, how much for made of film in America?
Well, I guess, considering inflation in 2000, I would say that one Kodak film can that had maybe 12 minutes of footage you could use would cost about, I would say, maybe 200 a can for 12 minutes.
Wow.
And then it costs like about 140 to get it developed.
Right. So you're basically looking at what?
It's like
couple-
300 of yeah, okay, $300 of 12 minutes of footage, and out of that 12 minutes, maybe you can use 3 or 4 minutes of it.
So you're looking about 3,000 or something, 3,000 plus just for the footage itself. I mean, for the film itself.
Just for the
That's
film itself. That's not counting, of course, location, special effects. Yeah.
So tell me a bit about Solomon's Requiem.
So it was a horror comedy. It was inspired by some of the late 80s, early 90s underground horror gory movies like Reanimator and Brain Dead, Peter Jackson's Brain Dead. And I was like, you know what? I like the idea of doing my own horror comedy. And this was like before the zombie craze really took off. So like when I was directing this movie, the zombie craze had just started to take, because 28 Days Later had came out, and you know, so there wasn't like the bum rush of zombie movies that we got since then. So like in my head, like if I were ever to make a sequel of this movie, it would be a werewolf movie instead. So I definitely want to do a werewolf movie at some point. But yeah, I was inspired by that. Like I really enjoyed reading about like some of the underground horror movies and some of the controversies that came with it. And it was also inspired by a dream that I had in which my foot split open and the skeletal foundation was revealed in my feet. And I woke up kind of cringed from that. And I'm like, you know what? I got to make a film or story around that image. So between that and just, trying to put in some lighthearted comedy, that's where you get Solomon's Requiem, which, by the way, is available on my YouTube channel. I don't really talk about it that much because I kind of forget about it, but it is a movie that I still enjoy. Like I don't watch my stuff often. I tend not to because I've already worked on it. It's like I've already experienced it. So I don't really go back and really rewatch. Rarely do I rewatch my stuff from beginning to end. Maybe like 1 or 2 of the movies I've ever shot, I do that with. But this is a fun movie. It's a fun if you like horror movies, gory horror comedies, and you like that underground aesthetic, then yeah, I definitely would recommend watching this. If you have an hour and a half to kill, definitely go for it. If you want to put the link in the private chat, if you want to share that for people that may want to check it out. But yeah, this was shot on 16mm, the same exact camera that Sam Raimi shot Evil Dead with, the Ariflex 16BL.
There you go. So how much did it cost for you to make this movie? I mean, nowadays people will just grab a digital camera or your phone, and it doesn't cost that much, right? Like $400, $500, $600, whatever, you could get like a camera at secondhand now. If not even that, you could pick up at a thrift shop a digital camera for $400.
Yeah,
and tapes would be like $2-3. How much? So back then, you're looking about 2014 and 2002, right?
Right. I would say about $100,000. It cost me total.
Wicked.
Yeah, that was it did. It was $100,000 and money that I did not really make back.
Yeah.
So it took me a few years after I made the movie to say to myself, well, at least I got it made and be okay with that. I mean, I had big plans for it, but the market then was different in terms of how to promote, how to gain access to networks. Like nowadays with a YouTube channel and Instagram, you can easily be a part of a network and find ways to get your stuff distributed or seen or exhibited. But back in 2004, it was a different era.
It's so you spent $100,000 on that. That's US. So for us, it's like $150,000. You could buy a nice little home here for that. Like not really decent, but like enough. Like in a kind of a rural home, you'd be you could get away with buying a 2-bedroom home for $150,000 New Zealand.
Rub the salt in, why don't you?
No, the reason I'm saying that is to try to put in perspective what it costs you to make your film, right?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, and yeah, going from that to digital, like digital really was a game changer, and it wasn't like a smooth transition because it took. I think it would have taken the Panasonic DVX100 to actually make video cameras which emulate the film look,
right?
Because before that, they were still like shooting on like 29 frames a second, so they didn't quite get that film look until the Panasonic DVX100, and now like even your cell phones today can get that film look.
Yeah, I remember like in 2003, 2000. When did I start? I think it was 2003 when I did my films. Well, when we were working on Sony 1080p, right?
Yeah.
On a connected to a Mac, and then had I can't even remember the names of freaking things I worked on because it's been, what is it, like 20 years ago or something? Now, yeah, it's actually over 20 years when last time, I started working on film. Digital filmmaking. And so was your second movie, right? So I'm looking at here. Let me just get to that. Pop over to UMI, right? What am I? So this one here, another 120 minutes, another 3K US. So around about $4,500 New Zealand. What was, was this digital as well, or was this film as well?
Yeah, this was on a Panasonic DVX.
Right.
Yeah. So that, of course, and actually, I would say that this movie was probably, in terms of storytelling, superior to Solomon's Requiem.
Right.
Yeah. So definitely. And what I've learned, here's the thing I've learned too with filmmaking, and it's a pet peeve that I have with other indie creators, is I don't do 10 takes of one shot. I'm not like a perfectionist that way. Like if the first take was good, I move forward. If I see something I could fix with the second take, I do a second take, and then I do maybe an alternate shot. But I don't do 10 takes of the same shot. A, because you're wasting actors' energy, and B, you're wasting opportunities of different types of shots and moving forward and trying to get as many scenes shot that day. Because I could do like 2 or 3 scenes in one day. And it took me a while to figure out that's why people liked working with me, because I was efficient and I would get it done.
Yeah.
And have time to eat. So,
the other thing with that, and you do a lot of preparation, right? So you have your reading room and you have your, with your cameraman and your editor saying, this is what I want. So you got all that prep beforehand, and then then you get on the set or whatever, wherever this scene is that you're going to shoot at, and you're ready to go, and everybody knows their job. Whereas like, if you're not the people who take 10, 20 shots, is that they're not planning enough, or because they're trying to become, like that whole flowery thing about being an artist, and it's kind of like watching that freaking stupid movie, Megalopolis, or what the hell was that, by, the guy who did Godfather or something recently. It was like most trashy, wasted my time.
Apocalypse Now, Francis Ford Coppola?
No, the most recent one. I think it was Megalopolis. Let me find it. I think it was.
Yeah.
It was that one with that guy from Star Wars. The lead guy from the new Star Wars.
Was it Adam Driver?
Yeah, the one with him in it. Let me just find his name.
Is that the one with the dinosaurs?
No. This is that.
Okay.
That's actually not bad. The dinosaur one's not bad.
Yeah, it looks fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's what the hell was it? Coppola who did that? It's like one movie that you just want to tell everybody never to watch because it's just such a waste. Yeah. It's
Megalopolis.
Yeah, there it is. This thing, this trash heap of something that doesn't, like, it's like he said like his whole thing was that he wants, this is the movie of his life that he wanted to make, and it's like, maybe he shouldn't have. It's one of those things, like the artist,
you made a movie about his own life, Francis Ford Coppola?
No, he spent his whole life wanting to tell this story, right?
Gotcha. Okay. I see.
And it became like a I can say some rude words about what I think it is, right? But I just feel like it's the worst addition to cinema in history. One of them, like I've seen really trashy, like B movies and stuff, and this is worse than those, right?
Wow.
It's just a waste of money. It's like, just, it's one of those circle things, that people do, right? It's like, this is what everybody else picked it as.
4.7. Wow, yeah, that is kind of low.
Yeah. I give it a 4, right?
Yeah.
That's how bad. I like even a horror movie that I give it 5 for effort, right? Because I know how much effort it takes to make a movie and stuff, and I'll give it a 5. Even if I think, but like for this, it's like, it's the utter waste of money and talent. And Adam Driver's, I don't know why people have Adam Driver in their movie. I really don't know.
He's
but
actually not a bad actor. It's just that the material he gets is where he's one of those actors that, like, if you give him the right script, he could be easily the star of that particular movie.
So this is what you call someone throwing money into a trash bin.
Yeah.
That's the return on it globally.
Oh, yeah. Ouch. Yeah. Not good, Coppola. Do better. Oh, he did, but he's also old, so no, he won't get better.
Yeah, but this is the movie that he'll be known for from now on.
Oh.
It's like, it's it was just so bad. Like, seriously.
Good job, Frankie. Good job.
Yeah. It's like he's done so many great movies, and this is the one he'll be known for, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's
Well,
just,
give it about a couple of decades after his passing, and then they'll go back to remembering him for Godfather.
yeah. It's like he's trying to be Julius Caesar or something, and it's just in his brain, right? But it didn't work, sadly. So, tell us about what am I? And your first digital.
I don't know what are you, because I'm learning about you as a person. So don't highlight Bronx CBR's comment. This is the guy you don't want to encourage. You don't want to encourage him. Damn it.
Well, there's only 1 or 2 people that would never put their chat on my channels, right?
Oh,
and
so they've
already been banned, but he's fine.
Oh, well, don't ban him, because he will hack your router. So don't. Wait, what
So
was I
tell us
saying?
about.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, tell us about What Am I? Your first digital feature film.
So it's a drama. It's about a guy who he has wonderful relationships, and what he does is he has a underground persona. He has an alter ego in which he photographs models, and he builds a following, but he leads a normal, miserable life in the process. And he runs across this girl who wants to she wants to like intern with him. She's a fan of his work,
right?
But she doesn't know about his other side. Like, he doesn't know about the real life he has. All she knows is he's this like hit photographer. People like his work and what have you. So
it's kind of like it's kind of like a swim fan type thing, like a groupie fan, who likes him for his work and is interested in his work rather than, not knowing his personal life. So was this based on anything, or was it just something, did you just decide?
So it was like an idea that I was playing around with, and I talked to a few people that I was talking to, and they liked the idea. And actually, it was my Stephanie, who, rest in peace. When I first met her and I talked to her about this idea, she loved it. She's like, "You should make this into a movie." So
yeah,
so that's what I did. So
what was the cost of putting difference between like the $100K for film and then switching over to digital? Did you actually buy your cameras this time, or sorry, I should have asked you about the last one. Did you hire the film cameras and everything like that, or did you buy them or something?
Oh no, I bought it.
So you actually have film cameras, right? Now?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Have you?
They're obsolete though, but yeah, I do have it. So
right. Have you ever had people ask you if you can hire them out or something, like some indie people that want to start up doing some horror movies? Because horror movies seems to be what everybody in the indie scene is interested in, right? Filmmakers not filmmakers, sorry, viewers enjoy indie horror than they do, blockbuster horrors, because there's so much more heart and originality put into those horrors from indie creators than from the big names, because they want to make $100 million movie with $500 million return, whereas the indie guy just wants like a couple grand return, get his dream made, right, and get his name out there and so on. So
Well, the
have
indie
you
guy
heard
is also
of
not hammered by DEI, then not bound by whatever restrictions are placed in the studios,
right?
so they can really go balls to the walls if they want to.
Yeah.
And that's one of the benefits of being indie.
Yeah, that's what we found like in New Zealand, right? A lot of our horror movie takes off overseas because of that whole indie aspect of us.
Yes.
Like, Black Sheep is one of our most popular ones, and then there is another. There's a metal one I can't remember the name of right now. Deathgasm. That's it. Deathgasm. Right. So we've for us, we've done really well with Deathgasm because it brings together metalheads, and brings together, Satanism, everything. I actually had it there. There we go. So it's a very, much loved movie. This one here from us in New Zealand. I love it at 8, right? But it's a 6.3, which is, way above average, and it's a fun movie.
Good rating.
And so they had a Kickstarter for number 2, and so I'm not sure where they're at with that or where they went, but
yes,
it's very indie. It's like down, yeah. And by the way, talking about the Jason Howden, he's the guy who the writer director. He actually has done comics as well, written stories for comics recently. So,
how is the comic scene in New Zealand? Like, how would you describe it?
It's there's about 7. There's a group that we have, right? New Zealand Comic Creators. So there's about over 700 people in New Zealand who create comics, who are actually listed on that. But outside of that, I reckon there's another 1,000 that aren't even listed on that. And there are even people who are like probably more popular who just keep to themselves and out of the scene. One of our most famous comic creators has a webtoon, which is like about to be made a movie, animation, and everything. And she's the most richest one of the person in the world when it comes to comics because of it. It's something to do with like Greek Lore Olympus. That's the one. So she's the writer and creator of that, Lore Olympus.
Okay. Oh yeah. Oh, I think I know what you're talking
Olympus,
about. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's huge. Lore Olympus is huge worldwide. Like the young readers, everything is just schools, full on.
Yes, I've seen that in Barnes and Noble. So, okay. So Rachel Smythe, is that her name? Okay.
That's her. I always forget her name. Right. See, she lives at the bottom of New Zealand, so I always forget her name. So all I can think of is Lore Olympus and webtoons. But yeah, she's very, she keeps to herself. Too busy, Yeah. I don't know what's going on with my phone. And so yeah, she's like the biggest name when it comes to, just putting a free comic out there to becoming huge.
Yeah.
Talking about
that's amazing.
Talking about free comics. So I started doing comics in 2007, right? Came out of film school, had a car accident, and so I was like, I don't think I can do weekend filmmaking anymore because I started doing short films with people, and whatever they wanted me to do, I could do, because I learned everything, right, digitally wise, not like editing like in a can kind of thing with film, but digitally I could do everything they wanted, directing, continuity, and all that. And then I had a car accident like 7 months out of my school, and so then I was like, it became hard for me to stand up. And so that meant that I had to change from wanting to be a filmmaker to going, I still want to tell my stories. What do I do? Oh, what's been my other dream all my life? I love comics. And so that's how I switched over back in 2007. And the reason I mentioned that is because I started putting out my comic based on the screenshots from my digital film that I did at school.
Yeah.
And so I took my hour and 50-minute film and I put a good Photoshop, screenshot it, and digitally went around it with a traced around it, and then changed everything after tracing around it with a mouse, like seriously with a mouse. People go, well, what do you mean by mouse? Yeah, I actually tracked around it with the like a pointer on the mouse and clicked every little thing and then put it together and filled it and made line work but that way. And then later I think about 4 years later, I was able to afford because I had a car accident and everything, and I was like, and all that stuff. And so I actually got a loan out because I got divorced. I got separated, got divorced, and I decided, well, I need to really get into this, and got myself a Wacom tablet, and then now I could draw around it. And so I put I used to put that out as a free comic online, and in 2007, right, 2008. And I remember having this is like way back at the start of webtoons and all web comics. I was having like 100,000 downloads, dude. Right?
Yeah. Webtoons is a very honestly, when I jumped into the whole Comicscape thing back in 2018, I wish I had known about the Webtoons thing, because that really is the way to go if you're starting up. Because because that's what One Punch Man did. The creative One Punch Man one. He started off on the Japanese Webtoons page, and he built his following that way between that and Twitter, and he had millions of followers, and he had to get a job in the private sector because he had to pay his bills, but he could have started making money with his comics because he had that following.
Yeah, I mean, for me, nobody knows what I did because I had a mental breakdown at around about 10, 12, 10, 15, 10, 11, right. 2011, 2012, right? And basically just lost my memory. Like I had a massive, I mentioned this the other Risey's thing in this chat. I had I went face first into concrete, like at full speed into footpath, drunk ass off my head on pills, and smashed my head open, and then walked out, carried on, and then got picked up by a taxi driver, and he, because I had my finger out, thumb out, to get a ride in, and he picked me up, and I said, hey, just take me to my sister's. And she's like about a mile away, and I knock on the door middle of the night, like probably about 1 a.m. or something. I'm there like, hey, can you take me to the hospital? Like my blood's just pouring out. And so I lost my memory, about comics and everything. Lost my memory of being, working with with my publisher, setting up to do all this stuff, and just lost about it must have been about 4 years of my life,
right?
And then started up a comic shop, right? And because didn't even know I was doing comics, it was like everything was there, but it blanked out. There was nothing there. So I think when I hear people about having head injuries and about having something relearning stuff, I'm actually quite empathic. Empathic towards that, whatever that word means. Care about because I understand when people go through these things that sometimes other people may not understand what you lose. Like imagine losing 3 years of your life and not knowing that you used to do comics, or you wrote, or you designed, and you had all this following, and under some empathetic. That's the word. Thank you, Brown CBR. And no idea, right? That I had 100,000 downloads on my comics, and I have because what I did was I actually bleached also all my online content. Only about a couple of weeks after that, or a couple of months after that, I had another breakdown, so I deleted my online presence. And so that meant I couldn't get any of my work back. There's even my publishers try to get all this work back that's on that email, and we can't. And so it sucked. And so I had to start all over again. But I think this is something, like I said, I'm empathetic to people who are going through this. I remember hearing about Dan Frager about his neck accident. Operation. I'm like, I fully understand how hard that is to learn how to draw again, and how to feel like that, to remember shit that you don't remember because
techniques, right?
And so when people shit on people who are coming through that, I kind of think they don't have a clue about what it's like,
Yeah, the thing with the art scene is, I think it's more with comics than anything, because it's a bit more parasocial out of all the art communities. But it's you're expected to produce the product. Reasons for not getting it done be damned. So people can be savage and I've experienced it firsthand, like how savage people can get with your stuff, especially when you all you're doing is just making a product. You're just making a product. You just want to tell a story, be entertaining. You're not looking to make the next best thing, or you're not looking to make a Michelangelo. You're just making a comic, and people take it a little too seriously.
Well, the other side of it is that, like, when you are wanting to tell a story, you don't give a crap about how that story is told. Put out. You just want to tell that story,
right?
Because everybody goes like everybody has a story in them, but like when it comes to be a writer or someone who believes in their, in themselves to be a writer, you don't really care how it goes out. You just want that story told, and you hope that people get past the images and get tied in with the characters that you're talking about. Like like the first book I did 6 issues of that, right? It's freaking just tracing digitally with a mouse, and then later with a Wacom, and then filling in extra page, backgrounds and all that myself, around screenshots, because all I wanted to do was like, okay, this is all I have now. I can't do filmmaking. Let me tell the story I can. I don't know how to draw because I lost use of my hands when, in 1990, 94, I think it was. And so, you can't really draw anymore. You can either find someone to pay to do it. And it's like the first I asked someone to do something for me and was like $20K. I was like, that's like half my year's wage, or even probably, probably 2/3 of my year's wage. And so how do you, work around that? And that's why I think a lot of people are doing that with AI now, because they are trying to tell a story, but they're not able to afford to pay someone to do that. And then it's also hard, because they're doing that, to try to say, hey, maybe how about not doing AI, but actually, I mean full AI, just transferring it straight, no technique, no tool, using it as a tool, but just straight out. But I think there are people around the world who are willing to work with with writers, kind of like kind of a weekly wage. I'll give you a page, give me some money. I'll do a page, give me some money, right? And that sort of thing. And I think a lot of people get hung up on, hey, it's $4K for a cover, when you could probably pay somebody to do exactly same thing or even better for $200.
Yeah, I think people just like they want the name, and it's like people will gravitate toward the book regardless of who drew it or not. If it looks good, they'll gravitate towards it. And there's a lot of artists competing with each other that you can get decent rates with. So
yeah, and I think that's something that people don't really understand about. It's like that there is competition for rates, and there are far better artists out there than what people are seeing, because they're a lot more vocal. There's a vocal minority who think they're the best in the world. Yet I have some of the best artists working for me right now who don't get the rates that don't charge the rates that those guys do yet, because they just want to live and have a happy life without the controversy, without anything, just work, right? They've got a family to raise. They're not worried about, hey, what am I getting on my super chats, right? Where do I want to go? What ball game I want to? They would say, oh, as long as my kids are fed, I'm fed, my bills are paid. That's all they care. And then also the other thing is, hey, people get to see my work after I'm gone. And I think this is the other side of the thing that comics people don't understand, is that a long time after we are gone, our stories hopefully will live on, and hopefully somebody will take care of them after us. And we are, and I've planned for that. I've already planned that who's going to take over after me to look after my IPs, right? And my publishers and so on, and who control them, because we're not going to always be here. And I think the whole fickle thing about online, before I'll just stop in a minute with my rant, online, what is it called? Parasocial communities around comics is the worst thing in the world, right? It's as bad as the trans communities with kids around when it comes to with the parasocial thing, because it's so mind-numbingly stupid, because rather than just doing your thing and getting along, creating a work, people want to, like and which is where I'm leading into is with your documentary, right? With your, you know, with yeah, it just feels like people I wish sometimes would just work, and help lift each other up, and
Mhm.
not, not be involved in destroying each other for the sake of name recognition, you know.
Yeah, I think unfortunately, and I know what you're talking about. Like when you look at Comicsgate, it started off in the Thrones of Battle. Like there was already one side calling out the other side. We were the good guys calling out the bad guys in the industry, and then once we became independent and viable, then we realized, oh wait, we need someone to lash out against. So they were looking for the enemies from within, and what you had was about 6 years of infighting, people leaving, people backstabbing each other, and the result was a movement that was viable, that had potential, that could have gone in so many different directions, could have produced so many memorable stories, characters. I talk about legacy, and I think you were referring to that as well as legacy.
Yeah.
And instead of that legacy, it's just a digital museum of retardation and bitch behavior and just some seedy shit that should never have been about the comics, but it became part of it.
Now, you were there from the start, or when were you part of, like, with the Comicsgate?
So Comics started in 2017 with Eglantine, Doug Ernst, and Captain Frugal, Captain Cummings, and Richard C. Meyer. Like those guys were the ones that were there in the beginning. I joined in August of 2018, and this was right when Doug Ernst and Tim Lim kind of start to separate themselves from the EVS crowd. This was after the transcript stream and the Julius Caesar stream, both of which I covered in the documentary.
Yeah.
And this is when they now were going really deep into their comics, these new characters that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Cyberfrog isn't new, but for a lot of people he was, because this was like their first exposure to Cyberfrog.
Right.
There was these other characters like Brutus the Badass, Bigfoot Bill, Lone Star.
Right.
It was Detective Dead. Like there was these new characters that were people were making IPs out of, and potential for new stories, new universes. It was exciting just the thought of it. And I was already drawing my book Road Warrior Drake at the time, so to me it was like, okay, I can put my stuff, throw it in the mix, and now I'm part of a legit independent comic book movement, and it was exciting back then.
So why did it turn from a customer movement to a production publishing kind of mindset, marketing thing?
It was a logical evolution. Like Tim Lim was already doing Thump, and Doug Ernst was already into Black Hops, so it was understood that the next step would be to make our own books and challenge the industry with our own books, and really show that there's a market for people that don't want this SJW propaganda. They just want exciting stories and fresh characters, and that was the next step. But as you would see in the documentary, it was all torn down by infighting, greed, egos.
I always find I think it was around about 2019 or 2020 when I was asked, are we part of Comicsgate? One of my artists came up to me, and said, hey, look, are we part of Comicsgate? I said, no. I like the idea behind, because from what I knew, because I didn't know that at this point people were actually creating art or comics in Comicsgate. I just thought hey, this is a customer movement. Yeah, I believe in what they're saying, which is hey, I don't want my white characters being changed into black or Asian or whatever, because that's what I grew up with, and I like them for that. And if they want to if you want to change some character, just make a new character. I'm happy with that. Give them a new identity, give them a new family, give them new bio characteristics of them. Not just put on the same mantle that they have. Now you just change the skin color. And I've always been like that, right? If I'm going to tell a story, I'm going to tell a story about who I think deserves to be in that story, and I come from a multicultural family. Like we have like Indians. I used to have a girlfriend who was from Taiwan, right? An Irish girlfriend, and friggin', married to an Indian wife a while back, divorced now for over a decade. But and also my family is like I said, it's got Fijian, native Fijian, and I'm from Fiji, but I'm Indian, right? So we have like brothers and cousins and sisters, and everybody's in our community. I mean, my family is quite extended families, quite mixed. And so if I'm writing a story, there is going to be aspects of that. It's not just going to be like, well, it's just going to be a white person, or it's just going to be a black person, it's just going to be Indian, because I'm just trying to tell a story that involves people that I know, and not in a way that's actually interesting, not just swap the race. So, and I was like, yeah, I think this early version of comics was a great thing. And then, like you mentioned, like in 2018, and that, when people started creating, all were creators now started jumping on, and then became the infighting. So how did you go? And was because of who were the ones that started like this whole ego tripping here?
I mean, I guess it depends on who you ask, because there were factions even among like the customer community in Comicsgate, but ideally, it's just a matter of just looking at the common denominator. I mean, who's the common denominator? It's been either Ethan Van Sciver or John Malin,
Right.
And I don't know if Ethan himself knew it, but I think Malin himself did know, and it was even evident then that if there are people that he didn't like, that he was going to push out, he was going to find a way to discredit them, use his platform to use the court of public opinion to discredit them, and really just make it overwhelming for them to be a part of this. So,
I mean, I've mentioned this like in chat sometimes and so on, and to people when they ask, like, I've never heard of Ethan Van Sciver ever. I've never heard of John Malin ever. The only person that I ever heard of was Shane Davis because of Earth One, right? I think did he do Batman or Superman?
I think he did. I think he did Superman. I'm not sure.
Right, and so because the reason I knew of that was because J. Michael Straczynski, I'm a huge fan of his, right? Because of Babylon 5, Rising Stars, Midnight Nation, which I have all of. And also he's the one who brought back Amazing Spider-Man and Thor, right? Into the modern era. And so that's why I was like, I knew who Shane was because of his work with JMS. I think he might have been doing the other, I'm not sure if he was on with JMS, but out of the Earth Ones. But so I'm kind of weirded out, like how these two could come in and really be the rotten apples in the basket that is, the fruit basket that is Comicsgate. And yet, I mean, I've watched the documentary and I've listened and I've watched so many other, investigative things that DA talks do, or DNV investigations do, right? And by the way, they have something else on today. But recently, there's a channel, I think it's what is Comicsgate. It's been playing like a live stream all day of it, like all the 24-hour live streams.
Yeah.
Of what, and I've been watching the clips that they've been using. I mean, they've been showing, and I'm like, how did nobody step up and go, hey, this is not what we are, and we don't want you in it. Right.
Unfortunately, yeah, it's a collection of those things that gets people to say, "Hey, wait a second, this is kind of weird." It's one thing when it's going on real time and you don't see it because you're still kind of tied into certain people, some projects. You like certain live streams, so you don't really want to view them as the bad guy. But when you see it all collectively years later, you're like, "Oh wow, this was not what we were supposed to be doing. This is totally antithetical to the original mission."
Yeah. Was there ever, I mean, like, I've noticed that there was some people who were saying, like, well, because in New Zealand, we have a thing called pull your head in, right? If you see your mate behaving in a bad way, or uncouth, or not even uncouth, just not being a good dude. You just go, hey, pull your head in, right? People will come over and tap you on the shoulder, go, mate, pull your head in, or you're out of here. That kind of thing, right? Like, if when you're in a bar and someone's like a bit drunk or trying to be staunch, do you guys have the word called staunch in America?
I'm sorry, what was the question? Yeah, I missed that part.
Staunch. Do you know the word
staunch.
staunch?
No,
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so that's when a guy thinks he's all that, right? He's like,
Yeah.
Tough dude. So if someone's acting staunch in something, people will actually go, hey, pull your head in, knock it off. And this is what I've and I've kept wondering this every, for the last year or two that I've been looking into Comics Gate. It's like, why don't people go, why are you guys doing this, and get the hell out of here, because this is our group. We are yet now it's become like something the opposite of what it was. It's like the very evil that 2018 was about. I mean, 2017 was a Comics Gate was about. A year later turns into this whole evil that they were against.
It's really the fulfillment of Animal Farm. If you've read that book, that it makes sense how it turned, what happened to CG, what it became from what it was supposed to be. It's like, oh well, and it all boils down to, once it becomes centralized, then it really becomes about that center and not the group as a whole.
Do you think with all the creators that have left, do you think it would have been better for them never to be part of Comics Gate?
That's a good question. I don't know. See, because honestly, when I joined, it helped me out. It did help me out, and being in Comics Gate really did give me a lot of opportunities, and it got me my core of people that follow me. So it really depends, I can't say that being in the movement hurt people, but being part of certain networks within the movement may have hurt them. But not that much, because at the end of the day, Comicsgate, even today, is a very tiny percentage of the indie comic market. It was just easier to sell because it was a cohesive central community, as opposed to like having to scrape through various smaller communities in the indie market. Here you had one concentrated group that they're ready to buy your comics. All you gotta do is just show up on one live stream, and you automatically have a bunch of backers buying your shit.
Yeah, that part of it I thought was really cool. I mean, like, I've been talking to people and about how much they've spent on, for backing people. Like, I was looking at my backer kit, and we're about to release number 2 of Incredigle, and like for Incredigle 1 backer kit, and there was like at least about 50% of them wanted to say, they said, because I want to help an indie creator. I want to support an indie creator.
Right. Yeah.
And I've watched that go from being wanting to help an indie creator to go, I don't trust indie creators anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's like, how could these, it's like, it's like, what's it? Just say no to oil or gas. Those people on the street, they're very loud. They tie themselves to the ground, or they glue their hands to the thing. And CG's become that. It feels like they're stuck, and it's like become a nuisance brand now, rather than what was like, hey, I want to support an indie creator, to where it's like, you guys are in the way of actual creators getting somewhere. Please just move off. And you need someone like to come across and be the cop to say, listen, we're not putting up with this. We're taking you off to jail. We're going to rip your hands off with the glue, and unchain you from the road, and away you go, because now you're just a nuisance, people. And that's what it feels like to me. As much as there's amazing people in Comicsgate who still affiliate with it, the creators themselves, the brand is so damaged for me from the outside looking in, that what it was in 2018, when somebody was saying to me, or 2019, I should say, are we Comicsgate? Shall we join Comicsgate? I'm like, no, I agree with Comicsgate. Now I'm like, I despise Comicsgate, right? Because of what it's become. And it's like, it's damaged the whole Kickstarter scene, the indie support scene so badly, that all it is now is just a drama farming thing rather than going, hey, let's get a creator on, no matter what their talent skill is. And let's just, hey, I know you're at A level right now, but you need to be, I should say you're at Z level now. Let's help you get to, G. Let's help you get some more. Maybe we'll get you, hey, I don't think you should do art. Go do your writing. Let's see if we can find you someone you can afford to do the art for you, right? Or if you want to do art, let's show you how to change it a bit, how to get you to look at anatomy, how to look at what can help you reach the crowd you need for your art. Because I know, like, this is the thing about, like, I think a lot of people in Congress don't understand. There are different levels of comics. You got the zines, you've got the photo bashing, you got the INDY, which is, like, kind of, it's not Marvel. It will never be Marvel because it's INDY. It's not IE. It's not competing against Marvel. It's Y, which is where you're like, kind of like you have the indie street level, kind of like underground comics, I should say. Y,
Yeah.
INDY, underground comics. Like, who was a guy from? Gosh, there's a particular group of people that used to do like underground comics, and they were fine with. They weren't gonna compete with friggin' Marvel because they were the underground comic scene.
Oh yeah, I talked about that. There was like the 1960s. There was the underground comics movement, and then the 80s there was the alternative comics movement. And some of those names that were part of that were like R. Crumb and R. Spiegelman, Von Bodie, Eastman and Laird. Like, they did. They just made. They weren't competing. If we're going to do our own thing that the mainstream cannot do.
Yeah,
and make our own audience, and they did it based solely on the merit of their work.
Yeah. And I think that's the difference, like with people now, they think like if you're indie, then you have to be opposite, like on the same level as Marvel or DC. And like, no, when you're indie, you're not like them. You're just an independent creator doing your shit, and whatever level of skill you have, you're not trying to compete with Marvel because you never will. You don't have the budget. You don't have the billions that they have already set up over the last 80 years. So why try to be them? And I think this is where I think both Rippaverse and Comics had lost me was like, hey, we're the new Marvel and DC. It's like, do you really guys understand business? Right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you said that because I thought that like all the other independent comic movements before it, I thought, okay, first of all, guys, I'm trying to deliver an important point, so you better not harass me right now. I'm trying to be important right now. This is my moment. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to forget.
Okay, by the way, guys, do check out Alazmat's channel because there's a lot of for those who have never seen Alazmat's channel, do check it out. It's a lot of fun. That's one thing I do enjoy. It's a lot of fun, and it's a lot of kayfabe. And if you come, if you've never seen it, you'll think, why is this guy so angry and aggressive? But it's what he does.
Angry and aggressive. Why? Because I'm colored.
And it's fun. Yeah, because you're just because you're colored. You guys are always so angry and
I'm a happy pock. I'm a pleasant pock. Why aren't I on camera? Because my USB camera. Yeah, it's not because this camera's working and I prefer that camera, but it's not allowing me to select this. I don't know if there's an issue with the plug. I just have to replug it.
It's fine. Both of us look like we're quite important people and very, very learned.
I am important. I'm very important. I matter. I'm influential. Oh, but I was trying to. There we go. I was trying to address the original point about how CG kind of dropped the ball in terms of being open for these new different styles of art and just new forms of storytelling. And that's why I thought like with Gnarl, for example, he got a lot of shit from the top artists about how they didn't like his style and it was all amateurish and all this shit. Well, guess where he's at right now? Yeah. He's in Dark Horse with Mark Millar. So there is a market for people that want some fresh styles and some new visuals. Doesn't have to look like a Rob Liefeld piece or a Todd McFarlane piece. It can be just something weird looking that has some odd form, but it's got form. And if it's entertaining, people gravitate to it. Again, I point back to One Punch Man. He got a lot of shit for his art, but that art brought in millions of fans, and it got one super fan who became the top artist for his books. So there is a market for it, but I think CG dropped the ball on that one.
Well, I'm looking at Nawal's work here, right? This guy you just mentioned. What's his full name? Let me just get it. Per-Berg, right?
Yes.
Per-Berg. So I work with artists from around the world who who do something like who are Marvel quality, right? I have a R18 comic coming out with Heaven and Hell and Demons and so on, which is R18, 6 issues. We finished issue 1. It's getting inked. So, but then I also have like Teen Book, right, which is also I could say it's like a Dark Horse comic quality book, right? And the idea is that like people aren't stuck now on a Marvel comics way, right, of art style. At the moment, it's because we've had like 80 years of that style. It's time that we had something fresh. It's like Marvel telling the same shitty stories over and over again, and going another world event, another story where aliens attack, another story where somebody dies, and all this stuff, right? But that's why indie comics works, is because there's new fresh ideas, new fresh stories, and like you mentioned with Nawal, new art styles, right? I mean, I think a lot of people get hung up on, well, it has to look, that's why I said earlier, like it doesn't has to look like friggin' Marvel comics to be a comic book.
It just has to be entertaining. People get worked up on the parts of the comic and not the whole of the comic. Does the art service the story? And there's been a conversation as of late, and people are now starting to really hone in on that. It's like, if the art services the story, that's what matters. And it's come to, for a lot of people, they've come to the conclusion, because there's been that debate, which is more important in a comic, the art or the writing? And I hate to say this, but at the end of the day, the writing is more important, because good writing can save bad art, but good art cannot save bad writing.
So I want to show you this art here from one of my artists, right? For one of my books called Zealandia. And I want you to tell me what level of, I mean, I don't usually do this, but I think I want you to have a look at this because of what we're talking about right now. And I hate this new setup with that we have with StreamYard, right? So let me remove that.
I miss StreamYard. I do Talk Studio, and I really don't like Talk Studio.
Okay, so this is my comic. This is from like page 3 or 4 of a new one that we're doing. We were going to do black and white, and then my artist decided that, hey, let's try color, right? So he's from Sweden. So this is, this is a isekai, like alternative, version of New Zealand fantasy, sword fighting, magic, all that. And this is just when she's on Earth. And so this is another style of comic books, and it's not Marvel art style because it's not a superhero comic book, right? And so this brings me to what the E-Man 590 says here, right? Why be the next Superman when Supes already exists, right? Why be the next Marvel when they're already established? You can be inspiration, of course, but you can take inspiration, of course, but create a product of your own. And I think that's where I fall in. It's like, I looked at what I love about anime, which is I love isekai stories. And I had a little dream, and in the dream there was a girl running through a forest, and I'm thinking, what is she running from? And so I wake up and I write down, oh, she's running from these people on lizard, right? Giant lizards. Oh, let's turn this into a fantasy world, and that's how that story comes about, Fantastical Romy. But I'm not trying, I have a superhero comic called Incredible Girl, and that's the one that'll be there for all ages, right? But I think a lot of times the hang up is that we have to compete with Marvel. We have to compete with DC. It's like, why? You know, when you never can, all right, because you don't have the budget, you don't have the reach, you know, and and a lot of their artists, I'm sure a lot of their art, they don't pay what they say they pay, right?
Right.
Because if you look across to, because a lot of the guys are foreign, right?
Right.
And you know, Narwhal isn't going to be getting like $400 a page or $500 a page. He's going to get what he needs to get, that has been offered to him
Yeah.
with whatever else, right? If it's because he's probably signed up, maybe he'll get like creator rights as an artist, right? Because or whatever, when Vatican City becomes a movie, right, or a TV
Right.
show, because that's where Mark Miller's at. He's like, well, I'm going to do a comic now. Now that we got the comic out, let's see if it works. Now we're going to go to movies. Netflix. He's got a freaking $50 million Netflix deal, right? So whatever he wants to do, he's now all set up. And I think a lot of people don't understand how having that connection is going to be working for Narwhal. One of the things I want to, before we go back to getting your input, there was a guy that worked for Rising Sun Comics for years as an artist on fan-made, right, a non-profit G.I. Joe books. You know where he got hired to work last year?
IDW?
Image Comics.
Oh, Image. Never mind. Yes.
And you know why he got? Because he knows all the characters because he worked for Rising Sun Comics on free, right? But apart from he got paid for the books like as an artist, but there was no profit made on it because it's an IP, it's a licensed IP. So it was like for Rising Sun Comics, he learned all about those characters, and years, as he's doing it just as a fan, doing fan comics. Now, right now he's working with Image because he knows all those characters, right?
Yeah.
And if he hadn't done that, right. So this is what I'm talking about, what he was working on at that point. Remove that, stop that, add new. So this is what he was working on, right?
Okay.
All this stuff here.
Yeah.
Learning all the characters. These are different artists, cover artists, right? But like fan comics, all this stuff, like they're up to about 80, 30, 50 issues, I think. And there's another one they do that's up to about 100 nearly, right? Action Force, stuff like that,
Right. Okay.
Learning all these characters and stuff from G.I.
So
Joe.
he had a background knowledge of these characters, so he kind of came in prepared.
Yeah. And that's probably why he got hired as well, right? Because he was working on the Millerverse. Right.
Yes. Yeah. And it definitely helps if you're a fan of something. So like a lot of great products were made by people that were fans of certain IPs.
Right.
Christopher Nolan was a fan of the Batman character, for example. I'm thinking of Shusuke Kaneko, the director of GMK, Godzilla Mothra King Ghidorah from 2003. He was a big fan of Godzilla, and it showed in his movie. So
you're talking about the new movie, right?
No, like back the GMK movie from 2003 when Godzilla was possessed by the souls of dead U.S. and Japanese soldiers.
I think I might have missed that one.
It was part of the Millennium series, but Shusuke Kaneko was also the director of the Gamera series from the 1990s, the critically acclaimed Gamera series, and he was a fan of the kaiju genre, specifically Godzilla. So because he had that knowledge and desire, you could see it in his work, and he was able to make a superior product because of it.
Yeah, and that's why I think that's why if you love something and you are knowledgeable about it, and you're a writer or an artist, then it's going to flow out of you easily, and like the passion will come out of it you easily. Unlike a lot of people in mainstream comics who don't have that passion, they're just ticking a box. Yeah, I work for Marvel. Now I can, whatever piece might even be a one shot or 8 stories, or 8-page story. Yeah, I got clout now, so I can show up and sell my product at a convention because it's got Marvel on there. But
Yeah.
it's not really whether they actually did something great or changed some character into something better, or took something that was trashy and made it or basically a lot of times now it's just took some great character and made them trashy. So
Yeah.
do you think they're like and the other thing I was thinking about was well, let's talk about Tim Lim, right? What's happening with Tim Lim, since we're talking about creators coming out of CG or were before they were in CG.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what is this book called? Like, it was like My Hero.
Those
What's it?
his book was called I think it was called My Hero Macadamia. Macadamia. He was into the Trump stuff back then, so he did Thump. That was his
Right.
first one. And then there was My Hero Macadamia, and then there was the Trump Space Force, which was a parody comic. But that got him enough of a fan base that he would then go on to do a Common America, and that's been his signature IP, and it's blown up. And in the 6-7 years that he's been doing it, it's blown up. Now he's got a store in Japan that is selling it. A Japanese publishing company, Udon Entertainment, did a variant Street Fighter cover with Common America. So he's blowing up, and he did it without getting involved in so Lady Shadowbanned. So Tim Lim did a My Hero Academia parody called My Hero Macadamia, and it's a different thing. But in the 6-7 years that Tim Lim has been doing this, like he's blown up, and he did it without the parasocial stuff. He hasn't done live streams where he would go back and forth with other creators. There's no backstabbing as far as we're concerned. I mean, I'm not saying that it may not have happened, but as far as we're concerned, it hasn't happened, and he hasn't got himself involved in that. So, he's done really good for himself. And unfortunately, he's been villainized. He's been made the bad guy in Comicsgate. So, like, that big bad Tim Lim, those big bad guys in Iconics,
Well,
I
think it's about there's this really weird hatred from these so-called ex-pros, comic pros, who do not like anything that isn't Marvel or DC that doesn't look like Marvel or DC. It's like that old man who says stay off my lawn, right? Or back in my days, all this. It's like they never want to change, and so their bitterness becomes hatred towards other people. And for me, I'm a sequential art fan, right? Sequential storytelling. So you take an image and you put speech bubbles on it or text to it. For me, if it's in like what would you call it? If it's done in a comic style, caricature style, or if it's in panels, it's a comic, right?
Right.
You can call it manga, you could call it manhwa or manhua, all right?
Right. And people get worked up on the name of it, but and manga does have its own style, but at the end of the day, the word manga means comic. It's a comic.
Yeah. I mean, Indians have their own version of it as well, but they look a bit more realistic. And it's like I can't remember what the hell it was like it's thousands of issues as a comics that like they had the religious Bhagavad Gita, Hinduism comics and stuff with their gods and all that. There's about 80,000 million gods of theirs, and I'm not Hindu, so I have my family's backgrounds in Hinduism, and so there's like 88,000 gods or something, and so they use comics to teach kids about their gods, because it's so hard. It's freaking book's so thick, and so that's how they got kids into comics that way and learning. But I've noticed that there's a real bitterness towards manga from American and Canadian, North American, Canadian comic book creators towards manga or anything that it doesn't look like Superman, Yet this is the art that sells, right?
Yeah.
Because this is the one that looks pretty and everybody, likes it. I like it. I've got friggin' figurines. I've got manga. I've got T-shirts, right, with these characters on it. I mean, not this particular character, but I mean like characters in this style because I like the bright, colorful look of them, the cheerfulness of it,
Yeah, the toyetic. That's sexy
Yeah.
and toyetic.
Yeah. So this is Icon Comics is where you'll find Tim Lim's stuff. And like you said, he's doing really well, and all the best to him, man. I mean, because if you can cross over outside your little bubble of your own country, it's the best way to do. It's the greatest thing in the world, where you're not just in your little bubble in your little city. You're expanding, and that's what everybody who's a storyteller or an artist wants to do, is to share the product. Which now brings me over to you with your work. So, can you hand me I had your link somewhere, but can you hand me your link for
Yeah.
your website, please? And I'll get us there, and
So
we
the
can talk
easiest
about
way to get there is roadwarrior.com, but
That's
that will take you to the front for my comic. So there's the link right there in the private chat.
Cool.
That is the current storefront for my comic for Beast Citizen Road Warrior Drake. That will stay open for a few months more, and then I will close it down because I'm going to start working on a floppy. It'll either be a Pumpkin Warpath floppy, a Road Warrior Drake floppy, probably. So I will be doing that, and then for every book that I do, I'll have the other books as part of the campaign as well.
Now, before we go any further, I want to ask you, why fund my comic, and why not
Well,
Kickstarter, where there's like millions of people on there?
so I did put some Kickstarter. I started with my comic first because Luke Stone had just launched this platform, and I wanted to help him, and there was buzz around it, so I gave it a shot. I made, as you can see, this is the okay, so this is the second chance campaign. The first chance campaign made about $2,000, and then I went over to Kickstarter, and that made about an additional 900, and then Indiegogo got me about 700 or so of backers. So the thing with Kickstarter is you got to learn some of the buzzwords that will get people to your page. So there's definitely some studying that one has to do. But yeah, if you're going between, if you're looking for like just being able to be part of a search, definitely Kickstarter is the place to go, because there's a bigger comic fan community there in Kickstarter.
Right.
And then I talked a little bit about that in the documentary, but ultimately Indiegogo definitely shadow banned a lot of campaigns. It hurt a lot of customers financially, and any Kickstarter ban would have been stupid in light of the fact that Indiegogo is guilty of that and worse.
Yeah. So are you going back to Kickstarter, or are you going to stay with Fund My Comic?
I think once I get physical copies of Beast Citizen Road Warrior Drake, I might do a second chance on Kickstarter, and just study what's trending, and then open the campaign there, and probably not even market it on my streams, because my customer base, they've already backed the book. So putting it on Kickstarter isn't going to get any new eyes on any new customers from my current base. So if I do it on Kickstarter, I'm going to be looking at what is trending, and then how do I promote it to that audience. And one of the ways to do it, I've been told, is through Facebook. So I'm either going to have to use my current page to do it, or open up a new page. So I haven't decided yet.
Right. So, and this is what I mean by like DY, right? And IE, indie comics. It's not like going to look like friggin' Superman and whatever, $4,000 of a friggin' page artwork. This is doing work that you want to do, put out the way you want to put out. And I think a lot of people don't give credit to indie creators. Like I said, filmmaking in New Zealand, horror is top because it's made by indie creators in New Zealand, indie filmmakers, and it reaches way out and makes a lot more money from New Zealand than a lot of other stuff, because it's made cheaply, but it's a lot of people are into it. Like Europe loves New Zealand horror movies, because it's our own style of horror movie. It's not like trying to be like Americans. And that's the difference about sorry, I should say American Hollywood, right? It's not trying to be Hollywood. It's trying to be independent. It's trying to be local. And I think this is what I love about indie comics, is because we're not trying to compete with whoever. I think just doing your work and putting it out is, where it should be, and where, the passion should lie at. So this is your second chance, right? So I'm going to go to Road Warrior Drake website. Can I get from here somewhere? Or oh yeah, I can. No, that's your channel website.
Well, the Road Warrior Drake URL goes to from my comic. I haven't had a website yet. That'll be like once I'm making more money on this character, then that'll be the next step is making my own website because that really is the way to go if you're an indie creator. Like that's what Eric July has done. That's what Iconic has done. Even Shane Davis has his own website. So that's where you want to go and have your own payment processor. So you're not dependent upon the potential banning by Indiegogo in those platforms.
Yeah, I mean, you if you're gonna go indie, you're gonna go indie, right? You got to be able to be self-sufficient, but to get there, you got to have the finances to do that. Now, do you think? And this is, this is something I've had to question myself for so many times, because you want a case in civil suit and you'll go to pay out. So when I had my car accident in 2007, I battled for. I had like a lawyer who went pro bono against the government for me, right? Because it was a car accident, and the government wouldn't because we have a thing called here ACC, which is Accident Compensation Corporation, whatever, that we pay into. It's like you have to pay into it as a government thing out of your income, and so I did forever since I started working when I was 16 years old. And then they didn't want to pay out because it's degenerative. And I said, how can it be degenerative when I was in a car and I was in an accident? It's not like my body just suddenly got old and the car didn't exist. So they spent like 2 years fighting for me and I won. But then rather than creating comics, I was like, I should open up a shop. So, so I spent like something like about $4,000 opening up a website, another $2-3 grand, buying product from America. At that time, there was like this indie only distributor. I think it was something started with H. I can't remember the name of it, like, for Helmet. But I can't remember who it was, but there was an independent indie comics distributor that wasn't part of Diamond, and so you had like all these comics that were coming out that you could only that would go into the comic shops. They were independent, like from independent creators, and they didn't even go into preview, so you didn't even know it existed until you went to the shop and saw it. So I spent like about $2-3K to bring those over, and I went and sold them at a convention, and that's how I started. Then I started having my own comic shop, and I've always thought like, well, maybe I could have just got into like not going to business, and maybe just stayed into being a writer and just doing, getting somebody to do work with me. And that, have you ever thought about that with your filmmaking?
So I thought about a lot of things with my filmmaking. Like one of the things I thought about was how to integrate the two, like the comics and the film. Like, for example, I thought for a sec about putting the documentary on DVD and selling it at cons, but I ran into a couple of ethical questions about, making selling. I mean, it's a documentary. It's fair use because I did transform the footage. So it's really, 100% protected. But still, there was like a ethics issue with that personally for myself. And also the fact, you're going to cons and you got a bunch of kids there, people that are looking to buy some tchotchkes. Oh, here's a movie about some comic book pros that totally retarded and it had all kind of backstabbing and everything. I think you'll enjoy it. It's like, no, it's not what you want to sell at a con. So the other part of me was like, why don't I just at some point, and I have thought about this, and this is still something I plan on doing at, maybe in a couple years down the road, but making a live action Road Warrior Drake movie and really like going full practical. Right, with puppeteering and suitmation like that. Suitmation still would resonate with the practical effects would still resonate with the crowd because even CGI is sophisticated and you could do so many things with CGI, but you can't beat good old practical effects because the human eye can see it and say, yeah, that thing is real.
Thinking about practical because you mentioned Peter Jackson's movie earlier on. I can't remember the name of it. Brain Dead, right? So, and with the bodysuits and stuff. Is that what you're thinking about with Road Warrior doing that?
Yeah. So do you remember the movie Labyrinth from 1986?
Yeah,
Do you remember
with,
Ludo?
with David Bowie, right?
Yeah.
That one?
Do you remember the character Ludo? He's the big brown furry creature with the horns.
It's been a while.
Okay. Well, there's a big brown furry creature. He calls up these stones during the times of battle. And I said, you know what? That's how I envision, in terms of mass, that's how I would envision Road Warrior Drake in terms of being portrayed through suitmation and other practical effects. I'm like, that would look so cool on film. And you'd have to employ various techniques as well, because Drake wouldn't just be static; he'd be fighting, and there'd be some cool fight scenes and what have you. So I had all these ideas. Hangman's Noose, that one of the films that you were showing on my IMDb, that was based off a comic book I did in college. Yeah, you go. That's Ludo right there. Yep, that's him. And that is a man in a suit and animatronics.
Right.
Yeah. And that, when compared to like the human actors, he was massive. But right. So but that is definitely doable, and you could definitely see Road Warrior Drake being portrayed in a similar fashion.
And
no, it isn't, Gynoderm. No, it isn't. Where's Gorilla String, by the way?
So the question I had was do you think you could crowdfund the movie for Road Warrior Drake?
I think I can, but I would need to grow my audience more, and then look into like some companies that work with practical suit making or puppeteering, and once I have like an actual budget, then I think I can do a crowdfunding. And I think it's what it is. If I have an actual budget, it'd be easier to convince people to back it because I have an actual number and show them an itemization of what the money's going to go into, and where your location is as far as shooting, actors, So once you're able to plan out what the steps are going to be to make it, then I think it'll be an easier pitch to do a crowdfund for it.
Have you, because you already do your art, right? You already do your comics and stuff. Have you storyboarded it, and you kind of like a screenplay to make the movie, or are you just working?
I've only storyboarded my movies. I'd never really storyboarded anybody else's movies.
Yeah.
I've only done mine, so I'm totally familiar with the concept of storyboarding, and I know that Dan Fraga does storyboards, so there's definitely an overlap between making comics and doing storyboarding. But these days, like, people just there isn't that much of a demand so much for storyboard artists, especially now with AI and people going through like Google search images and just doing quick doodles of what they want. So back in the day, I did my own, and it was something that I probably could have gone into like with other filmmakers. But again, it was a different world back in the early 2000s. It's not like it is now, where you just put up a profile page on Instagram or even DeviantArt, and you can just get a network through that. So
now, if I mean, your website, Road Warrior Drake, right? Does it have any of your products on it, or is that what is that? The website? Is it just
it just goes to the Filmic page? So I just have the URL. So I own the domain name, so I can redirect it anywhere. So currently, it just redirects to the Filmic storefront page that we just saw for the Second Chance campaign. So that's where you'll see like the first 2 graphic novels. You'll see the Pumpkin War Patch #1. But ideally, at some point, I would like to actually have my own website and then show my products through there. And then that way, again, I will have achieved the independence of a creator.
Right. So how many books have you put out already?
So within the Road Warrior Drake universe, so as far as actually putting them out, so there's the first graphic novel, Street Champion Road Warrior Drake, in 3 different formats: the paperback, manga, and hardcover. Then there was an ash can, Road Warrior Drake versus Vincent from Blood Hunt, which was a independent comic book that was produced by Simon Poitier. There's also the coloring book, Road Warrior Drake and the Children of Philistia, That was
Right.
that was also on the first campaign. So those are like
Wait,
3 books from that first campaign.
So are we looking at them here? Is this what you're talking about?
So
Are they
that
different
that
books?
right there. So you'll see a Street Champion Road Warrior Drake in this page, as well as this B Citizen Road Warrior Drake. But the other 2 books that I mentioned are not
Right.
listed here.
Okay.
They are available for sale. Like I'll go to cons and I have them available for cons. And ultimately, like when I start the floppies, I'll put all those books in a new crowdfunder and it'll all be listed there. I'm just keeping it. I kept it simple for this page because I just wanted to focus on the second graphic novel and just get people familiar with the world before I started really going all out with the other books.
Right.
But with this campaign, like I have Beast Citizen Road Warrior Drake, which is a second graphic novel, and Pumpkin Warpatch #1, the first floppy for Pumpkin Warpatch, who is she's seen fighting alongside Road Warrior Drake in the graphic novels.
Right.
And that floppy takes place sometime after Beast Citizen Road Warrior Drake.
Okay. Let me see. So then you've got, that's your double punch PDF. That's what I was going to ask. So the other thing is like, how big are these books of yours? Because they're books, they're not floppies, right? Because the other ones that you mentioned were floppies. So,
Street Champion Road Warrior Drake is 110 pages,
right.
and Beast Citizen Road Warrior Drake is 149 pages. So between the 2 of them, you're looking at about 260 pages of material.
How long did these take you to create? Like, I mean,
well, the last book, it took me 2 years. I started drawing it in November of 2022, 1 month after my wife passed away.
Right.
And I just finished it, I want to say, sometime late last year, in the winter time last year. Like, I don't know exactly what I had to check my Twitter, but it was, I think it was December. I want to say it was November or December of last year is when I finished the book. And then I started formatting it into the PDF so I could send it to my print shop. And then here we are. So now I'm just waiting on the print shop to give me a proof copy. And once I get a proof copy, I will show it out there.
Right.
Yeah, this is, I draw them daily in addition to other works I would do for some clients. So, I believe it or not, I am busy. Like I am drawing, I'll do my live streams. I'll do 2 live streams a week, but I am drawing, I don't spend all day just bullshitting. So
yeah, I basically, because of my head injuries and my neck and spine injuries, I have about 4 hours in a day that I can do anything. Yeah. And so if I do a 3-hour stream, I'm done for that day. That's it. It's over.
Yeah.
And I just have to veg. And so I crack up when I see like people who are supposed to be like getting books out or doing work, spending all day live streaming. And I'm like, how do you actually functionally try to produce product if you're not distracted by something else? And I find so that's like me, right? So for me, I'm as sometimes I do live stream and I'll go, well, I'm supposed to do one tomorrow, so okay, I'm going to be busy tomorrow, so we're not doing it. Give me 1 sec. I think I've got my my Lego arriving.
Uh-oh.
I've got somebody at my door.
He's getting swatted.
Thank you.
CBR is getting him swatted.
Cheers. Oh yeah, I'm a huge Batman fan, so end of last year I decided not to do action figures anymore. I might buy one if it's on special or discounted, but I decided to go all Lego. And so this is my latest that I bought, is because I've always wanted the X-Jet, like forever.
Okay. Yeah.
And 30 years or something. Because
nice.
Because I'm a Claremont reader. Days, with like about 88 or something like that. So that's then became a huge fan of Batman like about 2023 and never looked back. So in the weekend, they were like, if you have 1,000 pieces of Lego, it's around about $500 or something, New Zealand. So they had some like auction on and they were like $70.
Wow.
So I'm like, I'll take that. Online auction. Yeah, I'll take that. So I bought 2 product like, lots that are worth $1,000 for about $200. Or actually, no, 3 products for about $200. And I was like, savings, man. It's like, it's like, what do you do with your money? I don't spend on anything except cheap stuff.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I
life.
mean, it doesn't have to be
Yeah,
expensive as long as it's fun,
yeah. It's like I get Lego, but they're not brand new unless they really have to be brand new. Unless I
Yeah,
can't get them in cheaper. Oh, this one was like $50, was 50% off.
nice. That's a
Yeah, I
good
was like,
price.
yeah, okay, tax returns. Talk about tax returns, right? Well, how good is it to be an indie creator and be able to file your taxes?
Did you just ask me how much fun it was to file taxes? Wait, I mean, what universe is that fun? I don't know. Yeah, go
Because
ahead.
there's a lot of creators that don't even know the business side of things, right? And they're
Right.
out here creating stuff, not protecting themselves and stuff. So you mentioned, taxes. I mean, I just filed one, and it was crazy. Like I had to go through because I do 6 monthly, so October to March, I just had to do that. And what happened was I have a friend
Mhm.
who for the last few years has been helping me, and he's done his
Yeah.
business courses and all that. So he set up a Google Google Forms thing. Is it Google?
Right.
What is that? Like Google the Excel thing for Google.
Yes.
And so then he decided yeah, he didn't want to do that anymore. But he left it for me to use as a base. So all I do is I just copy paste all my bank accounts and expenditures in there, and then I tally it up, and then I put it through. Like it takes me about 4 hours of whatever to do that, but I don't have to pay anybody to do that because I know how to do it myself. Whereas
Right.
before I used to give them $50 for doing that. All right. So I save $100 a year just by doing the taxes myself. So with you, are you registered with IRS and all that stuff? Because I don't know what it is, what the system in America is, but we're basically registered with the government here when you do your taxes as an indie creator or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an LLC yet because I'm not making enough money. So
Yeah.
I'm not like. I mean, I the only thing I really have is a trademark. That's about it. Like I haven't.
Yeah.
I mean, I do know within the United States, when you make a certain amount of money, you definitely have to claim it, and
Yeah.
And then they say if you make a certain amount of money, to protect yourself, you want to invest it in your business, and that way
Yeah.
it's accounted for. So yeah.
Yeah.
But,
I'm basically, that's what happened last year. I was like, I had to pay a colorist and so on. And now this year I got to pay somebody else and somebody else. So because, you don't make enough, and a lot of people don't realize that if you don't make enough, I know in my country, you can get GST return, right? You get your tax back.
yeah.
If you overspend. A lot of creators, I think around the world, don't understand that side of the business of indie comics. It's like
Right.
you lose money by not knowing the business, and I think a lot of
Mhm.
people maybe don't want to learn, or are too
Right.
lazy, or don't understand it, and aren't willing to do a little short business course to find out how to run, and protect themselves. And I see a lot of people not doing that, and because they're either new to this idea of protecting themselves, or just aren't looking around to learn.
They
How
probably
did
don't know what to
how
look. Yeah, I
yeah
think it's they just don't know what to look, and that's not a bad idea for a comic channel to do a video on that to,
yeah
make it entertaining too. Because if we're just sitting down watching a video, someone explaining it can tune you out, and there is
yeah
unfortunately a lot of nicks and knacks when it comes to tax return filing taxes as a business.
yeah because I mean, like, you if you don't do it properly, you could be in a lot of trouble. But if you do it properly, you could have money come back to you every year or every 6 months, however long. I know some people that do it 2 monthly because they because they have a business that needs to be that fast.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, if you're not making enough, your tax comes back to you, and like you said, put it back into your business and support that. You mentioned that you have other clients. Um, do you also talk about filmmaking and stuff like that as well with people, or do you do like classes or courses?
No, I just make at this moment. I'm not. I don't know if I have the time to actually do any courses on teaching people anything. Because
Right.
first of all, who am I? Like, I don't have
Yeah.
the resume, or the rather
Yeah.
not the resume, but the result, and by result I mean like the money and all that stuff to even teach a course
Yeah.
for people to take me seriously. So,
Yeah.
would I like to at some point? I mean, I definitely like sharing my experiences, because I think like I represent the an outlier of some kind, where like I really should have probably just not even have gone full through with Street Champion World Warrior Drake, but I did against the odds, and here I am. So there are people that are
Yeah.
discouraged from entering the scene because they're told they're not good enough, or they need a lot of money, and it's like
Yeah.
there's so many resources available that can help somebody just get their product done, and it's like you don't have
Mm.
to listen to the people telling you no.
Well, that's the other side of sad side of comics that I despise, is like the discouragement of other creators.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like,
it's a thing, and there aren't that many people that really would speak out and say, "Hey, that's kind of a dumb take to have." Like, and this is
Yeah.
why I started doing my Thursday indie comic outlier streams, because there
Yeah.
were creators, legendary creators with legacy characters that would not have even been given the time of day in Comicsgate,
Yeah.
because their art doesn't look like a '90s image comic, and it's like that's the greatest. That's one of Comicsgate's, if not the greatest fallacy of
Yeah.
Comicsgate, is it's very closed-minded when it comes to art.
Yeah. It's like it's either Marvel or DC style or nothing, and I think
Correct.
that's the worst. I've got like, I don't know, hundreds of graphic novels and just in front of me here. And each week I go to because I do my thrift shop walk around. Like, we've got a hospice, we've got Red Cross, and we've got Salvation Army thrift store, right? So there they have their book section, and I'll go through and then they have the kids section as well. And I'll go through, look for like any types of graphic novels, any types. And is it for children? If it's is it for young adults? Is it for mature readers? I'll go through and I'll pick it up for a couple bucks. And so I look through it and I go, wow, this is like crazy stuff, because of what kids are reading right now. Like Dogman is the greatest thing right now, right? Or because they even made it into a movie, right? Law Olympus, a Greek freaking web comic, is one of the biggest things in the world, right? Like $1 billion IP now because of web comics, as we talked about earlier. I mean, not only that, there's so many TV shows in South Korea based off webtoons, because webtoons are Korean based. And like, there was like one called The Golden Spoon or something I watched, which had one of my favorite Korean actors in it. And there's so many more coming out because of webtoons, based on webtoons. They're not freaking superhero comics. Like, they're not costumed, people. They're actually regular stories about regular people put in fantastical situations based around the webtoon. The other thing I noticed was, talking about that, it's like there's some filmmakers who are actually getting together with artists and making webtoons to try their product out, right? As we talked about earlier, to go and see if it's going to work or not, can get a following. And then they go to the they go, oh, we got a following now, let's go to filmmaking, let's make it into TV show. Is this because this is where you want to go, you want to do Road Warrior movie. Do you think how hard do you, I mean how sorry not how hard how long do you think it would take for you to create enough of a what is that, fan base to be able to get a movie off the ground? Because this is something I've been thinking about as well. Like, if you want to do a short film, how well do you need to be known? And the other thing I noticed about America, right, is that there is no support for indie creators like we have in New Zealand. Like, there's funding and stuff. Like, I was able to get funding to get my through my arts community to get and from the government, by the way, to get my to get a convention off the ground, right? Independent comic book convention.
Well, here's the thing: it isn't as hard as people think. It's just that it takes work. Like, it's laziness that doesn't make a convention happen. Because all you gotta do is you just get a hall. It could be a convention center or even like a cafeteria. and just rent the space out, and you get a couple of vendors,
Yeah.
and boom, you cut a convention, and then you make a little money, you get a little notoriety or a little familiarity. People start knowing, oh, that's
Yeah.
the guy that owns those conventions. The more people want to join, and then the more people that join, the more money you have to get a bigger space, and now you're expanding.
Right.
So it's really just, you just got to do it. You start small. The thing is, people want instant gratification. They want that overnight success, and that's not going to happen. Like that's the other thing with Comics Geek is that the smaller creators that came into the movement that were looking for instant success didn't get it, and then they left the scene. And it's like, okay, legacy takes time to build. You can't just go in and expect 30, 40 grand overnight. You got to put in the work. That means you're going to go a couple years or so without making any kind of money. And, you're going to probably go through periods of stagnation before you see an uptake from people being interested in your IP. It's a long-term game. You got to be dedicated to it in the long term. So,
a lot of, I think, and the other thing is like, it's like building a channel, right? People think like, you're going to be the next Mr. Beast. And it's like, well, where did Mr. Beast start? Nobody thinks about how you started. Not like there was somebody who talked about, like, I can't remember who it was. They said like there was this lady. Oh yeah, there was a Filipino American lady who was like got a 30-second to appear on the Minecraft movie, right?
Okay, right.
And they were saying, oh, she's all this, and I was listening to another person talk about it, and that said, like, well, she spent days and weeks and nights just talking to nobody on the screen. Nobody. I've done that. Like, I've like turned this on. I'm like, and I don't, I always talk like I'm talking to everybody, right, in the world that people are watching, because I'm not going to pretend that like there is nobody watching, because then my brain will shut off, and it'll be like, well, nobody's watching, so why should I put the energy in? And it's like, I just like everybody's watching me all the time, because and because of that, I watch what I say and how I say and why I say it and what I put out, what I don't put out. And I think a lot of things that really freaks me out and really disgusts me is what Comicsgate people put out, right? Online. And I mean, like, every time on the stream. And so much so that some of their own people don't even know what's out there about them. It's crazy.
Well, it's fascinating because I talk to people from overseas. Like Helmet, he's one of our regulars on my stream, and I asked him about the German scene, and
he's really smart, man. When I watched your not the Halloween 3, but the one before that,
right?
I because I've lost so much memory, because I used to be a prolific film fan and reader, right? And I've lost so much memory, and I love the fact that he can recall so much information, and you too. And I'm envious of that, but it's my own fault, right? Head injury. So, but he's really intelligent in the sense of, well, he can recall so much knowledge. So that's great for you to have him on there, man. That's bravo.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, asking about the comic scene in Germany, and you get quite a bit of an insight. And I ask them, do they know about Comicsgate? They're like, oh yeah, they know about it, and they stay away from it because they really think that people in it are assholes, and they don't know how to treat people with respect, and the books themselves are not anything to write home about. And it's like, you really learn a lot about other people's worldview from like going international, and you got to think internationally also with regards to success and legacy, because if you don't think a character may hit it big here, it might hit it big out there.
Exactly.
I mean, look, again, go back to Comic America. It's now gaining traction in Japan. So don't sleep on the comic markets out overseas. And just really get a feel for how they view this stuff, so that you don't get tied into it.
Yeah, we've like, because I've like I sport Spanish speaker and a Portuguese speaker, and I've got a Swedish, and a couple of Americans. We've got a comic, Robot Nation, was a self-contained 44-page, and I had them translate it into Portuguese and into Spanish, and then I was going to release those digitally, and then I thought, well, you know what, maybe I'll just do like A, B, and C, English, Spanish, and Portuguese language, because maybe somewhere out there somebody will like want to buy that. And I'll release about only 25 of them. So it'll be a limited edition. And even if people want to buy that with that cover, because it'll have its own cover, right? and so it won't be this on the English cover. It'll be on that cover. So people might want to buy that as a collecting, but also they might want to buy it as a reader as well. Okay, it's in my language, or whatever. I mean, I had to learn that because somebody was telling, I was speaking to some, South American people, and they were like, "We love manga here." Manga is like the bomb, like. And the other day I was watching this 1967 Japanese Captain Ultra, right? Captain Ultra show,
right?
About some space captain in 1967, right? TV show, color, made in Japan. And that I was looking at it, and on the comments, and there were people from South America going, "I remember this when I was a kid. I was watching this." Like, I've never heard of it. I've never heard of this thing.
Oh yeah,
and
South America is a big hub for manga, and they actually have a character in South, actually a native character in South America called what's the character? Hold on, oh shoot, I forgot the name of the character. He's a South American character that's clearly inspired by manga. It's like something Thrawn. Like, hold on, now I'm like, I gotta find it. Hold on. So.
Yeah, so it's amazing that that this is the thing, right? Like for us in New Zealand,
Karmatron, that's it. Karmatron. There we go.
Karmatron.
Karmatron. Yeah, Karmatron is a South American comic book character that's clearly inspired by the Mecca of Japan. It's like, wow, it's a pretty interesting comic. I have not read the comic. I knew of it because there was a sector CG that was Spanish. There was going to be a Spanish CG sector, and they were going to get into conversations about the Spanish comics and get more awareness of that. So, but that never came to fruition.
How do you spell that?
Yeah, K-A-R-M-A-T-R-O-N.
K-A-R
Karmatron, yes.
Y los transformables, is that?
Yes, Karmatron y los transformables, yes.
Right. So let me grab that so I'll show you. So for us in New Zealand, right, what we got was 2000 AD.
Mm-hmm.
And look at that. It's not even giving me big. Oh, is there anything bigger? So that's there. So look at that. So that's very much based on, on Japan.
Yep. Yeah, but you wouldn't have known that was a South American comic. So.
No, not but just by looking at it, you would think, oh yeah, that's out of Japan. So for us in New Zealand, we grew up on Judge Dredd as a teenager. I like
that's nice,
as young people, right? So I grew up like, when I moved here in 1980 in New Zealand, that's how I got into comics in the big way, was because my neighbor was into, 2000 AD. He was 8 years old. I'm 8 years old. And we became friends because he lived right across the street from me. But the other thing is, like, that's not Superman. That's not American comics. That's not Marvel and DC. And also the other thing was I grew up on Asterix and Obelix and Garfield, right? And Charlie Brown and Tintin. And none of them are like American superhero comic books.
Right.
But that's why. So when I look at these guys talk about, oh, well, you can only have American superhero comic book looking characters, I'm thinking like, what bubble did you live in? Or do you
That's the thing. They were in a bubble. They're in their cubicles drawing their comics, and they lost sight of what the rest of the world actually connects to. Garfield, for example, and Peanuts are successful because they have like a universal appeal visually and in the stories that's being written, because their stories are not specific in terms of like socio-political stuff. It's all just situations and scenarios that are universally relatable to people, and you throw in a little comedy, and then now you got something that almost anybody can enjoy. And the whole simplistic art of like comics like that, as well as Tintin and going to like the strips like Beetle Bailey and all that stuff, those resonate. People like that because it's visually escapist. If you remember when Ethan McIver was on Jesse's Pod Awful Stream, And Jesse talked about how the more realistic a comic is, the more it sucks.
Yeah.
And he said the quiet part out loud.
Yeah.
It's since these comics become and how hyper detailed they are, the more people are like, well, I guess it's good art, but it's not fun to look at. And you want the people to read a book and escape from the stress of the real world. You open up a Peanut comic book and you're automatically just entertained. You're made to feel good because it's so simplistic, but yet it's so entertaining.
So this is what Indian kids around the world grew up on.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So this is the Bhagavad Gita I was talking about, the religious Hinduism, the religious book of this. You got Krishna, and you got, made us into a superhero and so on. And this is like someone's like gone over it, and you can see all the bubbles are wrong, but translated into English. So, comics have been around for a while. It's not all superheroes from, the US.
Oh no, and that's the thing that manga understands is a lot of the top titles aren't even superhero related. They're either romance. There's some teen angst, some drama. They have wrestling mangas. So there's a manga for anything there, and it does really good business.
I mean, like one of my favorite little animes that I watched was about fishing. Little junior high or middle school girls going fishing, having a fishing club, because when I was a kid, about their age, right, about 13, 14, I used to take my little sister in the weekends and we go fishing. Like we'd hitchhike or get dropped off by mum and then get picked up by mum at the beach, and we just go fishing because I just wanted to get out for the Saturday away from home. And it was either the forest behind our house or the beach. And so I kind of enjoyed that. I think it's like, you can have any comic book on anything as long as it's entertaining and it's fresh and it's intelligent. And like the girls, they're learning how to friggin' bait a fish for particular fish, right? And they would go to a particular place to catch that fish, and then they'll like at the end of the day, because they were clubbed, now we got to cook the fish. So right, how do we clean it? What do we add to it? Do we make it surimi, or raw fish, or do we fry it? Do we put batter? All this stuff. And these are junior high school girls learning about doing that, and like it's just clean fun about fishing, and it's like it's based on a manga.
Yeah, again, it all goes back to like how like current Marvel and DC tries to make everything socio-political, and it drives away consumers and fans. And then you got manga, which is just make it fun and entertaining, and that's why they're making the buck. And again, that's a lesson that I don't think Comicsgate really fully learned. As much as they talked about how much they were against what Marvel and DC was doing, the alternative really wasn't that much better, because they forgot the books have to be entertaining and fun.
Yeah. Now, just as we finish off here, Lady Shadowbanned said that would be so boring, and I think that's in regards to everything being superhero. I've got Preacher up there, nothing to do with superhero, and I've got like Why the Last Man. I used to read a lot of Image, and their little offshoot independent studios that are part of that, like Top Cow, and there was some other ones, like there was guys, there's so many, I've got so many comics that I sometimes don't even remember what I have, and then I go, oh, there's that, it's but there's so many amazing art styles and comics out here that people don't even read or know about, because they don't want to get away from buying, and so buying Marvel and DC. That's all they know. They got to have their weekly or monthly dose of their X-Men and their Spider-Man, and then when they see something new, they go, oh, whatever, and they carry on with Spider-Man, and then they complain. That's the worst thing about it, is that they complain about the bad they're getting, but they will never offer any, never look towards getting anything new. And I think
it's a shame, because like the way I see it is Batman, Spider-Man, Hulk. I like those characters, but at one time Hercules and Hades were they were the mainstream characters of their day. Now
Yep.
they're just footnotes, and we talk about them in a past tense, like mythology and all that stuff.
Yep.
There is a possibility that the next generation are going to talk about Batman and Hulk the way we talk about Hercules and Zeus, which is sparingly because new characters are taken.
Yeah.
And that's the characters are generational. You know, they come and they go. Like they will persist in the zeitgeist of our culture, but they won't have the impact they once had once generations pass. And while you have an opportunity to look at new characters, new IPs, you should and open yourself up to new adventures and new experiences. And I think that a lot of people, not even just comic skates, a lot of people in general just are afraid to leave the mainstream and really seek out alternatives and indies and see what gold mines are there.
Yeah, it's like watching like channels talk about like bad movies, right? And the next bad movie. It's like I've got like I'm just looking at like DVDs here in front of me, like all the good movies that I have, right? And I don't care about any bad movies. I'll go and watch it. And like the most recent one that I enjoyed was called Companion, right?
Yeah.
And there was another one. There was two movies that I watched this weekend. Companion, and another one was The Assessment, right? So I enjoyed Companion, and I thought Assessment was boring.
Yeah.
However, let me get you the budget. So Alicia Vikander, she's hold on. It's like the lady that played what's it called? She played Tomb Raider, the last one, right?
Angelina Jolie?
No.
Oh no, the one after her. I know you're talking about. Yeah, I forgot her
Alicia
name.
Vikander. So I think she's so she had all right. So I had Elizabeth Olsen. She was Indra was a bit part of it. She's from there was a sci-fi series I can't remember recently. Oh gosh, but like so that's her there. So this movie was made for $8 million, right?
Right.
And got back in 300,000, under 300,000, right?
Yeah.
So now Companion, right?
Right.
Fantastic, and I'm glad they chose it. Now, I think it was released. I'm not sure if it was released on thing. This is the difference between a good story and a bad story.
Yeah. Yep.
36.7 million.
Yep.
So it made a profit of 26 million, give or take. Get rid of that 6 million, so it made about 20 million profit.
Yeah.
Because that's that 6 million for advertising and all that. But $10 million budget compared to 8 million on the other one, which only brought in under 300K.
Yeah.
Because this story was so good. I recommend watching this.
Okay. Oh wait! You know, I have seen that. Wait, I saw it in the drive-in with Lady Shadowbanned. We saw this movie.
Yeah. What do you think of it?
It was interesting. It was an interesting movie. Like I had some problems with it, but it was a very the twist in the first act was like, oh wow, I didn't see that coming. So it did get, in my opinion, a little bit generic towards the third act. But
there was. I had the same.
It kept me hooked though. Like I didn't turn away till the end, and then I was like, okay, well, at least it had me watching from the beginning to end. So I'll give it that. You know? Yeah.
No, I like because Assessment was like the way it was like, what are you guys actually trying to say here in the movie? Whereas like in the Companion, with all the twists, whatever have you, you knew where they were going with it, and even in the third act, got a bit wishy-washy. But and even I was like, oh, but then the acting was top notch. The way it was done was top notch.
Yeah,
it was made for $2 million more, yet it brought in $20 million profit.
Yeah, and spending less, it increases the chances of making more
because the story was good. It had nothing to do with like who the actors were or how much money was thrown at it. It was like because the story was good. And I think this is why sometimes even bad art like especially with independent filmmaking, right?
Yeah.
Even the bad quality of the work still goes ahead and becomes big, like Brain Dead. Like that's like New Zealand's like most famous known horror movie. Yet we didn't even think much of it when it came out. Now it's like a classic.
Yeah.
You know, Dead Alive or Brain Dead, the two names it has it, right? And now everybody looks at that like that's greatest thing in the world. Yeah, that's how indie horror should be.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody just wants to do that. Now, the one we're talking about is 1992, right? So this is, and we'll finish up with this, and I'll give you the last word, which is as we finish up. But this is Dead Alive, also known as Brain Dead, New Zealand film, 1992. What's that, like 30 years ago now?
Yeah, it's been that long. Wow. Yeah.
33. So here's how much it was made for. Right?
Yep.
And it only made that much but DVD sales, worldwide pre-sales, like re-showings and all that, streaming, whatever it's basically hundreds of millions now.
Yeah.
But it's
the video market is a viable secondary market.
Yeah. Back then it was all VHS 30 years ago. So, we're watching this on VHS. But yeah. By the way, guys, the link for the documentary, and there's a couple shorter ones as well on Alazmat's channel. It's also in the descriptor here, and on this video, I should say, on the stream. Now, as we finish off here, I want to thank you guys in the chat for hanging out with us, especially Lady Shadowbanned. Thank you for hanging out. And having some input into, what we're talking about, as well as I forgot to highlight this. One of my favorites was Kotaro Lives Alone. It's one of the indie comics you mentioned. And everybody else who was here, I thank you for coming and checking out my channel. And we just talk about good stuff on this channel, and about good movies, good anime, good comics, and what have you. Recently we've been doing a series on manga creators, and as well as looking at some really cool sci-fi stuff like Ghost in the Shell, Lane serial experiment. Now I'm going to give you the last word, and then we'll finish off, Alazmat. So let me pop myself off, and you give your center stage. And hold on, we got something here. Oh, my pleasure, says Lady Shadowbanned. And it's a manga that was made into an anime. It's on Netflix. Oh, okay. Didn't hear. Where was I? It was this one. Where to go? Here we go. Kotaro Lives Alone. Yeah. Okay. So.
Oh, you just put me on the spot. Oh, wow. Look at this. I'm on the spot, and there's my avatar. Yes, I make comic books. I tell stories. I'm entertaining. I think I am. I believe I should be. And if I'm not, I will be. I am always forever Legacy Phil. There we go. Yes, Legacy Phil. That's the way to go. And the Stream of Consciousness was brought to you by RoadWarriorDrake.com, where you can head over to the Find My Comic page for Beast Citizen Road Warrior Drake, the second graphic novel in the epic saga of Road Warrior Drake. So come hang out on my channel at Alazmat Films, Alazmat the Shadowbanned, which is the actual channel name. Go check it out. And I do video uploads. That's where also you can check out the documentary When the Culture War Hit Those Pretty Pictures, which is the documentary The Rise and Fall of Comicsgate. And it's a nice little manifesto on what not to be as a creator, and more importantly, as a human being, and how to be kind and professional in all your dealings. I think I said it.
Excellent. All right. So thank you, guys. We'll catch you on the flip side. Ka kite anō, wherever you are. Be well, be safe, and have an awesome day, night, evening, morning, wherever you are. And we'll catch you on the next time. Bye for now. Thank you, Alazmat.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Catch you guys.
Nope. Can't stay here anymore. I gotta get back. think this was the spot. Oh Lord, I beseech thee, please return me to my old life. I swear I'll do anything. Like, literally anything. And I won't bother you again, so pretty please bring me back to life.